Hi guys! In today's video I'll take you through the process of one of my most recent commissions that I did for Arcadia Studios and the upcoming visual novel Arcadia Fallen. They also commissioned this video so I can show you guys how my drawing of their character Victoria came to life. For this piece I went with a grayscale first, color later approach, and I'm going to show you how such a workflow can look like when you do digital art. So hang tight, there are loads I want to talk about. First things first, before I even started on the commission, I got to play the demo of Arcadia Fallen. I had a lot of creative freedom for this commission, so the demo was a good place to start looking for some inspiration. And at some point in the demo, I encountered Victoria, who pretty much saved my sorry ass, and I knew right away I had to pick her. And it absolutely has nothing to do with the fact that I totally flirted with her too, and that our fling should be made canon. So with the character selected, I made a loose sketch with her pose. I already had a pretty clear idea of which direction I wanted to go in, so I didn't spend too many hours trying to discover thumbnails or playing around with color schemes. Instead, I started out with a rough mock-up right away to show to the people at Arcadia Studios. I like to loosely add some tones to the first draft I sent off, because it's way easier to tell the different elements apart, and that way we minimize misunderstandings in the visuals. And this is the final mockup I sent in for approval. Afterwards it's time to move on to the line art. Whether I do clean line art for a piece or not really depends on the individual piece. I know I always say this. Sometimes I just do it because I enjoy the process, and other times it's because I want a certain look. This time I decided to create clean line art because the sketch underneath was way too messy. But usually it's just a gut feeling I go with. And as usual, I don't often create the line art on a new layer. I like to duplicate my sketch layer and then clean it up until the line art is neat and crisp. After the line art is done, I divide the character into subgroups. Each subgroup is a clipping mask layer, clipping down to a defined silhouette of the character. This is also the step where I start to define the values very loosely, also known as the light and dark relationship in a drawing, which helps create contrast. But right now the purpose is mainly to get the defined subgroups such as skin, hair, coat, pants, sword blade and handle, etc. And now it's time to move on to the actual values. Recently I've been very interested in value painting, where you basically start off with a grayscale version of your drawing and then throw on all of your colors once the values are finished. And the reason this can be a really good approach is that you only have to worry about one thing at a time. In this case we worry about the values first and determine the colors later. When we work with values and colors at the same time, we might not realize that our drawing might have too little or too much contrast. Colors and values work hand in hand, obviously, but they're also two very different aspects of your drawing. So if you feel like you're not so good with values and you think your drawings either suffer from too much or too little contrast, try working in grayscale. It's a really good exercise. Some artists like to render their drawings at this stage too, so that when they finally smash on the colors, the piece is basically done. I like, personally, to render after the colors have been put on, so I'll start adding them now. And for this piece I'm using a coloring technique you haven't seen on my channel before. I'm using something called gradient maps. I won't go too much in depth because I actually want to make you guys a tutorial on this, but basically I have some gradients saved in my program. I can apply these gradients to my grayscales. This is where dividing the character into different sections makes my life so much easier. I'm holding down the Control key and clicking on the small thumbnails which holds my different sections. These are the sections we created in the step before the values. I picked the section I want to color. And I did want to show you how I colored the skin, but the recording decided to just die on me, so I don't have it anymore. So I'm selecting the hair, the ponytail specifically instead. And I am messing a bit around and it probably looks really confusing to you guys, but don't worry, I'll make the tutorial for you. Basically what a gradient map does is that it lets me customize what colors should appear as white and which should appear as black. In this case, with the hair, I want a really dark gray as the hair's shadow values, and I want a very bright blue as the highlight colors. And in between, which are all of the gray values between the black and the whites, there are some gray and blue variations. I put them there manually. This gradient map will apply to my grayscale values in the selected area, which in this example is the hair. So in short, I know this is confusing, but in short, this gradient here is now my new value meter, and it applies these colors and values to the corresponding values in my selection. I'm sorry if it's just super confusing, maybe I shouldn't have said anything, but I wanted to show you regardless because it's such a good way to add colors to grayscale because it allows you to get a lot of variety into your colors. But as I said, don't worry, I will make a tutorial where I will make it super simple and easy to understand. For now, let's just move on and add the rest of the colors. I personally really like to take my artwork down on my iPad when it's time to render. I don't always do this. Again, it's more like a gut feeling kind of thing. I feel like I just have more control on my iPad and it allows me to take my work other places than my desk, which is probably the most important aspect, so I don't feel glued to my desk all day. So the rendering and adjustments will be made in Procreate.
From the shimmer of light in the workshop, you felt safe to the broken glass in the streets, reflecting a fright. Desperation can set the stage for acts of villainy, and heroes may need to confront their demons in more ways than one. For a choice to be made, you must overcome the binding and twining of souls are bound, so strong it may just keep you both on top. Yes, you, what will you do when the call for action beckons you to choose? Yes, you, what will you be? A hero, a villain, or a monster indeed? Far away from the glow of the comfort, you know it's right into the hostile jaws of fate. You must go in this chaos, a hero we need. Do you have it in you to take the lead? Will you rise or fall to the quest that wait? Untangle our spirits from demons of hate. Victorious lies and the truth in disguise. Escape this hell and let's conquer the spell. Yes, you, what will you do when the call for action beckons you to choose? Yes, you, what will you be? A hero, a villain, or a monster indeed?
Thank you so much for watching, guys. Remember to check out the Kickstarter campaign for Arcadia Fallen if you're interested in supporting them and get the game for yourself. There's also a physical art book tier and my piece will be in that book. So if you're into that kind of bling, hop on over and check out the campaign. And a huge thanks to Golder Studios for reaching out to me and allowing me to work on this exciting project with them and for sponsoring this video for you guys. And to you guys, again, thank you so much for clicking my video. I hope you enjoyed the process of Victoria. Until next time, guys, take care. Bye!